This is real life and death here. Some lessons are harder to learn than others. Some lessons I've experienced over and over again. It's crazy. That's why I only know what he knows. Hey, I only grow as he goes. Yeah, I gotta give my lessons from the journey, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lessons from the Journey Live. I am Craig Carlisle. I know Sean wants to call me all kind of names, but I'm not Sean and I'm not Renee. Today they're away, but don't worry, they'll be back. We're grateful, though, to have Miss Wanda joining us as our special guest host and standing in for Sean today. We're looking forward to a meaningful conversation. So settle up, settle in, kick back, get your favorite drink, get yourself someplace comfortable to sit, open your heart, and let's get started. And remember, the conversation just doesn't have to end when the show does. So join us afterwards on YouTube or for our after show, where we'll continue the conversation and go a little deeper into today's topic. Now let's begin. Wanda, we're going to kick this thing over to you. How you doing today?
I am doing so wonderful, Craig. Thank you so much. I'm super excited that I am guest hosting this conversation. This Unparented series so far has been amazing. And we are in episode 4 now. Not just talking about unparented, but we're talking about the road to reconciliation. So I'm really excited to have today's conversation. I know over the past conversations, the past episodes, and family, if any of you have missed any of the past episodes, please make sure you're following Lessons from the Journey live on YouTube so that you can find all the past episodes, because this series right here has been amazing. And so we've talked about everything from the impact of growing up without the parenting that every child deserves. Episode 2 was a powerful one with Sean and her siblings. If you missed that one, you have got to go back, because that was showed you the impact of what it looks like when children are not parented the way they need to be parented, and the relationship between themselves as well as the relationship with their father, who is struggling with mental illness. So that was a great episode. Last week's episode was good, but today we are here to talk about the road to reconciliation. And it's not just about how do we get to that finish line, it's the road to getting there. And some people may get to healing faster than others. Some people may feel like they've arrived and don't want to look back. But we're going to talk about all the little particles in between, not just what happened to us, but what happens after, and what that road to healing and reconciliation looks like. So I'm so excited. Craig, thank you so much. We have um, uh, Kailon joining us today. I'm sorry, I think I'd be nervous, but I'm not. We have Kailon joining us today. We also have our resident expert, Nicole Romeo, here to kind of bring us some support and give us some guidance and direction. So before we get started, I want to just say hi to Kailon. Good afternoon. Good morning.
Good evening. Yeah, good evening. I was not expecting you to call me Kaylin. I usually don't get called that by
Well, this is
anybody.
my first interaction with you, so tell
No,
me to put me in my place.
no,
This is
I know
government
it.
name.
I go by the name of Kayloud, right?
Okay.
I'm an MC from Vallejo, California. I make what most people would deem to be conscious hip hop. Um, yeah, I'm just happy to be here. Very nice to meet you as well, Miss Wanda. Thank you
Nice to
for the
meet you.
beautiful introduction and for hosting the show in lieu of Sean, rather.
Thank you so much. And Craig, back to you. How are you doing today? You asked me, how are you doing today?
I am outstanding. I've recorded a show of a different type later today. I've had several appointments throughout the day. I've been cleaning a garage space in preparation for next phases of life. And so it's in God's country today. We've got a little bit of heat, not like the folks in your areas, but
Mhm.
it's a little warmer in God's country down here today than normal.
Yeah. I came back to 100-degree weather and I absolutely love it. So,
No, we
with
don't have that here. But it's not that far, so make sure we set up our expectations like maybe 82 today.
okay,
Did
sweater
you,
weather.
don't you see me sweating? I'm sweating. I'm sweating.
We're going to be sweating when we get into this conversation. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and Nicole, how are you doing today? You are muted, my dear.
It's 102. I live miles from you and I'm cooking. But I'm from
Yeah.
the Caribbean, so it's balmy.
Okay. All right. Before we get started, Nicole, I want to come to you first to kind of level set our expectation for today. When you think about the road to reconciliation, what what's the first thing that comes to mind, and what can you tell us as we start to embark in the conversation?
What's broken? What do we need to reconcile to or from? And who am I? What's my role in the reconciliation if there is to be one? That's what comes to mind most.
Okay. All right. So we're going to use that kind of as our grounding principle of what's broken, what needs fixing, and what did you need? When I was thinking about and kind of doing some research about the road to reconciliation and unparenting in general, one of the things that I want to kind of make sure that we are clear on is when we talk about being unparented, it's not always the fact that you were abandoned by your
Mhm.
parents. Unparenting can also mean that your parents didn't give you what you needed as a child. So, say for instance, I'll just use myself as an example. I have a sibling, so it's two daughters in a household, and my parents parented us both the same, but we had different needs. So where I may have felt a lack of parenting, that could be the unparenting part. It wasn't that my parents neglected me or anything, but it was just I didn't get what I needed. So I kind of wanted to put that frame around it when we start to dig into the unparented, because I don't want it to be that it was necessarily all neglectful when we talk about when we start to share our experiences. So I wanted to just kind of level set with that. So I'll start with the youngest of the panel right now, Kailon. Talk about your story to how did you get to this place where you felt unparented or that you experienced something in your life that made you feel that you didn't get what you needed from your parenting situation.
Hmm. Right out the gate with it, huh? Um, well, I uh I only I can only say so much. Um, because I only can identify so many things, right? Um, I grew up in a single parent household. My mom raised me as well as she could with the help of my family members and stuff like that. And she I know she tried her hardest. I know that for a fact. I know there's never a day where my mom didn't give 100% effort because she's still the same with my little brother now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I definitely know that, but I also know that a woman can't raise a man by herself, especially not a black man, black woman. It just don't work. So I missed a lot of, I would say fatherly guidance in a sense, in terms of things like, um, shoot, uh, how to interact with women on a platonic basis or how to, um, form strong bonds with my brothers and to just certain aspects like I said I can barely put my finger on certain things because I haven't even found out about a lot of stuff yet, I'm sure, but it's just missing that father figure. A lot of the time it was just like it felt like something was missing, but I couldn't exactly put my finger on it, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I know my mom was giving me everything she had. I know my grandpa, my uncles, my aunties, everybody was giving me everything that they had, but it was always
Sure.
like I'm here, but I'm not really here. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying?
There was still a hole. There was still a hole. There was something in your spirit, or however you want to call it, that only your father could fill. So while you said you had your grandpa around and uncles and things, there was still this hole. And so I guess I kind of wanted to go, and you kind of beautifully led the way to that, is in your experiences growing up, your father wasn't there, is what I'm gathering. But was there ever anything that you internalized? Like, did you internalize your father not being there because of something that you may have done. Like, I've seen that happen before. And I'm not saying that that's your story, but I just want to ask the question.
I think subconsciously there was a little like self-hate and like lack of self-love as well. Because lack of self-love and self-hate are not the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But experiencing both of those things, and then like being mad at him for not being here when he's a human being at the end of the day, just like I am. This is his first time going through life, is just like it's my first time. And while I do wish that he would have made better decisions sometimes, I also don't know what my life would have looked like had he stayed. Like maybe it would have been worse, maybe I wouldn't have been so well off and I would have suffered more. Because a lot of times people, talk about having a two-parent household and stuff like that. But you ask a lot of the people who grew up in two-parent households, it was just as bad, if not worse, as the single-parent household,
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, it has to do with our environment, like regardless of if it's one parent, two, three, a family, we're still growing up in America,
Mm-hmm.
so there's always going to be things that try to hinder us or stop us from growing or being our best selves. But I'm going off on a tangent. As far as my dad goes, I love him, and it's hard for me to say that because I don't exactly know like in what capacity I love him in,
Mm-hmm.
besides the fact that he exists and I know he is part of the reason why I exist. But I also know that he's not a terrible dude. He just suffered from a lot of BS and didn't have the same type of resources or outreach that I have. So, he was incarcerated for most of my life. He spent 12 years in the system. So, I didn't talk to him a lot. I didn't write him. I never really wanted to because it was kind of like oh, I don't really want to talk to you because you're choosing not to be here. Like you actively chose not to be here when you could have just stayed and like figured it out. But also it's like I don't know what I'm going to say to you. I don't know you. Like I don't know nothing about your life and you don't know nothing about mine. And I'm not going to sit here and act like you're not a complete stranger to me. Like this is foreign. It feels like, how people be like, yeah, you don't get to choose your family, but you choose your friends and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like I have to choose my dad. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like I have to actively be like, yeah, I want you to be my dad. When internally I'm fighting that feeling because it's like, bro, you ain't been here my entire life. I don't need you, clearly, but I can't let go of that. I can't let go of the void,
Yeah, that is so
Not,
good. Thank you so much.
yeah.
That is really good. And I don't feel like you've gone off on a tangent because you dropped some really good gems. And what you're echoing is what a lot of young men your age are echoing is and we're talking about the road to redemption, but we have to acknowledge that pain. We have to acknowledge that disruption of I know I'm supposed to love you, but I don't really know how. I don't even know if I want to, all of those things. That's where how we get to the road to reconciliation. And reconciliation doesn't mean that you guys are going to be good. It just means that for you, you have started to come to terms with forgiveness and other things that allow you to live and move further. Nicole, what do you say about what Kay Loud has expressed? Because it was so beautiful. And I could hear that from so many young men that I speak to, including my own child these days. What do you think about what Kay Loud expressed?
There's so much to unpack there
Mm-hmm.
because of the physical absence that he was incarcerated. And then the choice to leave even before that, if I understand you correctly. So that disconnect there. And then even the unbundling of what if he had stayed? So much. So let me take them one at a time. There are three words we're batting around here today. Redemption, I'm sorry, resolution is the first one. I mean, how do you come to terms with what happened? How do you even acknowledge, okay, he wasn't here. I'm tired of thinking about if he was here. And those are the truths you try to tell yourself. I'm good where I am. Why would I even seek that out? Is what I'm hearing you say. But then there's the DNA. The DNA is pulling on you, going, hey, there's a piece of you that has built who you are, who you don't even know. And if you did know, more? Would it explain some of the ways of being that you have? So many questions just sitting on the table like a puzzle piece turned over for you is what I'm hearing from you. And I get that. So the reconciliation and the coming to terms with what's happened really is you on an island making that happen by yourself before you could even reach out, if that ever happens. The reunification of self, of who you are, and coming to terms with who you are based on what has happened and what hasn't happened. I call that the absence of you. It's something I wrote a long time ago about the other half who raised this person, who created this person, but didn't raise this person. There's this absence there. How do you deal with that? I hear you loud, K loud. I hear you loud. Yeah.
Thank
That's powerful.
thank you.
Powerful. That's powerful. I want to bring Craig into the conversation. Craig, can you go back to your younger self before we get to where you are now? Go back to your younger self. And can you identify, and I don't know what your origin story is. So share your origin story with us, and then we can kind of weave into how does that impact a lot of men that are listening right now that don't know where to start. So start with your unparented story, if you will.
Yeah, I think I grew up in a two-parent household. Everybody was there, everybody was around, but it felt like my dad wasn't there. And not, when I tell this story, it's nothing like, Kay Loud's story. I mean, his father, you know, chose to be absent and he was incarcerated. My dad was in the military. And for many years, with me being the youngest one, my sister and brother were 10 and 11 years older than I was. So all I knew was that there was this mystical place called Okinawa, where my dad was. And he was gone a lot, or he was out on a ship. But as a kid, I just knew he wasn't there. He wasn't at the games very often. He wasn't around the house. It was just my mom and, my other two siblings. And that was it. Later in life, as he came around, Okinawa again was replaced by church and church ministry, and he was always there. And I kept thinking, man, if you would give me just a piece of that time that you would give the church people whenever they call or come around and want you to go somewhere, that would be amazing. And so it always felt this disconnect of, I'm chasing his approval, I'm chasing his time. And so and it got to a point where I stopped chasing and it really didn't matter to me anymore if he was there or not. And so it changed a little bit when he got older. He was having some complications with dementia. And I thought I got on this mission with, oh man, I want to get the answers to these stories that I never got. I want to get, some time with him that I may never get again. I don't know how much time he's got. And I couldn't ever determine what was the truth and what was the dementia.
Mm.
And as I would share stories with my siblings, they would be like, I never had that story before. Or it was, no, that ain't true. That these stories didn't match. And so it just became for me a time for me to write my own story or continue to write my own story, because I'd already started to write it, because the story that I was basing my life on really wasn't favorable. It just wasn't cool. It didn't fit who I was. I felt like I was in a box. So I had to get out of the box. And oddly enough, though, my origin story caused myself to voluntarily sit inside of boxes for other people to make myself feel accepted. Or I had a performance spirit that I was finding myself that I had to become accepted by people. And fortunately or unfortunately, it took till these, the big 50 years old or late 40s when I really stopped giving a rip about what anybody said or what anybody thought, except for God. And so that's, how I got on my, road to recovery to go find me. And I enjoy it. Had some lot of lonely moments, but it is what it is, right? And I know that I'm better because of it. I know this is a story I was supposed to have to a degree, and some of it I added myself because it was just my disobedience with, to the Lord. But where I'm at is where I'm at.
Yeah. You mentioned about there was this period of time when your dad went from being away to being present, but still not present because church and all of those things took more of a priority.
Mhm.
What were some of those, I'd say, habits, survival habits or strategies that you developed? Um, just trying to fill that gap. We talked again about the gap with Kailon. It's like there's something there that only your father can fill. And the fact that he was present but not present, what were some of those coping mechanisms or things that you used to kind of help you get over that sense of that's more important than me? That seems that if I can just get a little bit more of his time. Like, what did you fill that time or those thoughts with?
It was performance, whatever I could do to get his
Okay.
attention.
Okay.
I was a first year classically trained pianist, and I thought if I would just play better or play more often or play the concerts longer, while dinner was being prepared, because it was always, dinner prepped at home. We didn't have the opportunities to eat out a lot. Our eating out may have been once a month, when the military got paid, and then we would go out as a family and go sit somewhere. Beyond that, I was the youngest one, so I don't have a large recollection for whatever reason of the detailed times of my life with my dad there. But I do recall there was always dinner, and I come down and play a concert of what I had been spending time alone rehearsing. Because for me, it was school, come home, get a snack, rest a minute, practice, get all of your mistakes made, because you don't want to hear anybody hear you make mistakes, because you don't know how much time you're going to get with, your dad or your mom or whoever you're going to get attention from. So it's got to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then what are they going to think of you? And then I was playing baseball at the time, so when I didn't play well, it was like, well, maybe that's why my dad's not coming, because I'm not playing well. Like I wish I could play better, and they wouldn't let my oldest brother or my brother, accept being drafted by the Cincinnati Reds when he was in high school. And I thought, well, maybe if I could just play better than him, maybe he'll see me. And then it just became, television became a part that was a coping mechanism for me to find shows and watch TV. And the TV always was there for you when you needed it. And it was always present no matter what it was. So I sat there, watched a lot of TV, a lot of time, a lot of quiet away, and not really worrying about anything for many years until I think I went to college. I think that's when it started again, of just trying to find approval and, trying to be funny and get people to laugh, and maybe they'll like me,
Yeah. Yeah. That's really powerful. I think a lot of people that are listening can resonate with the fact of finding something else or that performance that, if I can only do or be this thing, then my parent will love me. My parent will accept me. My parent will spend more time with me. I think a lot of people in our audience, including myself, can really resonate with that thought. And how do we process through that? So Nicole, I'll ask you, like, how do we start to, I mean, I know this is for a lot of us that may be in our later years, but you're also talking to the young people out there that may be listening. But how do people, because there are people in their later years that are still dealing with, if I could only, my mom would X, Y, and Z. I have a friend that's 43 and is still like, if I can only, my mom would love me, show me love, etc. How did we start to get to a place where we accept the things that have happened, the way we've been treated, and those insecurities, we start to accept those things, not as truths, but for what they really are, and then start the healing process?
The biggest thing is to separate who you are from what has happened to you. You are not your trauma. And when I had to realize that I'm not my trauma, I'm not what has happened to me, I'm a human being who has had that experience. And to be able to separate those through help, through workshops, through healing ministries, through various means, and even saying it to myself, wait a minute, I got hit by a car, but I'm not a car accident, and know that I am not my dad leaving or I'm not my dad being home and being preoccupied with fill in the blank. Because you can have one end of the spectrum or another. I have siblings. So each of us grew up with different parents because we're years apart. So the ones that are older grew up with people who were brand spanking new. And then as they got older, they had more experience. So they too got different parents. So I get to look at what happened to me and say, you know what? I am not that. And then go on the journey through healing processes to, what exactly has happened to me? And who am I because of it? What has shaped me? And what do I want to be in the future? So it's like a puddle jump, past, present, future.
Yeah. I love how you made that distinction between identity. That's really important. Like who I am is not what happened to me. And I think we kind of enmesh that as we grow up. Like I am this, like you said, I am a car accident. You know, I had a friend that his mom used to tell him you were an accident, right? And that was his thing. I was an accident, right? How so we start to kind of embody that. And I love how you talked about how we have to separate the two, right? Who I am is not what happened to me. Who I am is not what someone told me, but who I am in my core and in my being is what's important. So, how can we start to move to the path of reconciliation? I think I want to go to Craig with this question. Craig, you mentioned that your father suffered from dementia.
Mm-hmm.
And so, were you able to have any kind of, and we know forgiveness is not for them, it's for us, any forgiveness and reconciliation in that relationship? Because we know that we can have reconciliation without the other person. It's more between us and how the Lord is working in our lives. But were you able to facilitate any type of healing in the relationship with your dad? I'm not sure if he's passed on or if he's still here, but were you able to start to develop some type of healing in that relationship?
Not physically, because he's gone. He's been gone since 20, I think it was 2009, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we moved out here in early 2019, sorry. So I think it was 2019 because the pandemic was 2020. And so we had only been in this house, 4 to 6 months when that started in 2020. So he had been gone in that January. So no, nothing physical. It just became a point where I'm not sure who was the man I was talking to anyway, whenever I would talk to him. So I just resolved to spend my time with the physical shell of whoever I was talking to at the time, and then not absorb any of the conversation. It was just, can I spend the time or invest the time with this person who is my father before he passes? And there were some issues with my siblings that we still, we have not resolved. But in both cases, I knew that my connection to my siblings was going to be severed when my dad died. So I just had to tolerate that negativity until he died. Then I wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. And then with my father, I knew that, yeah, he was my earthly father, and I had to honor my father, and so my days would be long. So, and I didn't want to do anything to be disrespectful to him. I didn't want anybody to be disrespectful to him while he was in the facility, being taken care of. So I always, my siblings and I, we always did, if nothing else, we did champion the care and protection and defending of our father. But after that, there was really nothing more to be done. I was blessed to be able to have an experience with the Lord that allowed me to see his sick body and his healed body at the same time. And I felt good from the standpoint that I knew he was going to be okay when he passed. So that made me feel like none of it mattered. And I just didn't want to be the person at the end that I met as a father. I wanted to be what my sons needed me to be. I can't say I got that all right, but honestly say I did the best that I possibly could for each one of them.
Yeah.
And tried to get them the love that I thought they needed along the way. And when I found out they needed more, I did my best to pivot to get them there, or at least to get them something so they didn't have so many bruises from me as they grew.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that. Kailon, I'm coming to you because I want to know, as a young man, um, how does this, you spoke so eloquently about how there's still a lot of uncertainty around the relationship with your dad. How do I show him love and all those things? When you become, like, how will that prepare you in the state that you're in now? How do you see this time in your life, these feelings, this disruption and uncertainty in terms of the relationship with your father, and how do you feel about him? How is that preparing you for fatherhood? And because there's a reconciliation piece that's going to have to happen, not before you become a father, but as you become a father, so that you can do things differently. What do you see in that regard? And I'm sorry, you may already be a father. I don't.
No, I'm not a
Okay.
father.
Okay. Okay.
No, I do want to start my own family at some point, but at least that's how I feel right now. I don't know for sure. We'll see. Um, because honestly, I really don't know. Um, I think about what it means to bring a kid into this world, and it's kind of unfair, you know? It's a little
Yeah.
unfair. Like, okay, for the sake of our joy and the completion of our dreams and goals, we're gonna bring a new life into this system, right? That we don't understand, that we don't really like all that much, but we like enough, for us to
Yeah.
stay here a little bit.
Right.
We're gonna bring a life force into that, and then we're gonna give it a whole bunch of stuff that we don't know we have, that we don't know that we're dealing with, and a whole bunch of extra stuff to deal with on top of what they're already gonna deal with, and then we're gonna send them off. You go do you and do it again.
Mm-hmm.
So, truth be told, I don't know. I don't know where I sit on that spectrum first.
Okay.
Um, as far as tackling fatherhood, um, of course, I want to be there for my children when and if that day comes. But I have a 7-year-old, no, 8-year-old little brother. He just turned 8 at the beginning of July, and I'm 26. So to me, that feels like my son.
Mm.
And I struggle with being present because we live a state away from each other. I live in Arizona. He lives in California with my mom. And there's on one hand, there's a part of me that's like, okay, I should move back home so I can be with him and her and to help him grow up and, be what I didn't have. Um, Granted, he has his father in his life. I'm not gonna speak on that situation, but the situations are different. But
Yeah.
like everyone has been saying, even if you grew up in the same house with these siblings, you guys both got different parents, and you didn't need
Mm-hmm.
the same things from these parents. And of course, they didn't know everything that you guys needed. So it's always a crapshoot, right? I say all that to say, I the one thing, and I think not having my father in my life has also contributed to my ability to be able to do this, but I dissociate very easily.
Mm-hmm.
I find it very easy to physically be in places and to mentally be anywhere but those places. It happens in meetings. It happens when people are talking to me for too long. It happens when I don't like what's happening around me. I'm extremely good at retreating into that space. And I think that's the little me who has always been surrounded by so much, who had to learn, like, hey, it's a lot easier if you just don't say anything and you just sit back and let other stuff happen, and then you kind of maneuver that way. It's a lot easier for you, then you don't have to deal with all the extra, right? And also I learned a lot of people pleasing tendencies because um I'm still not the biggest fan of confrontation. I mean, if something needs to be brought up, I'll bring it up. But at the end of the day, I would like to avoid having any type of, friction in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Partly because, like I said, I grew up in that manner where I saw violence a lot for the littlest things. And it kind of got me to a point where I was like, so if that's all it took for that to happen, then I need to do less than nothing in order to make sure that I'm safe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I'm gonna do, right? Craig, you said something about the TV always being there for you. And to my point about dissociation, I used to be my my cousins used to call me a couch potato because I spent so much time watching TV after I wasn't at school and not playing sports, and I would just sit in front of the TV like for hours. I could literally sit there for 4-6 hours and be okay. Like not talking to anybody, not doing anything, playing video games. I'm the same way. Video games has been a huge escape for me because it allowed me to not be me for a second and not have to worry about nothing else that's going on. Because it's a video game. It's not real. I don't have to worry about how people feel. I don't have to worry about how I feel. I don't have to worry about anything that's happening because I can just stay focused on the video game. And as long as I'm focused on this screen, there's nothing else happening around me.
Yeah.
So
and it was always there. It
always.
was always on. It never turned off. Well, I'm 1,000 years older than you. So, okay. So, yeah, some of our channels did turn off at somewhere 11, 12, 1 o'clock. But as things got older, when my late wife passed, I would watch TV all night because I couldn't sleep. Because I tried my best to do like you did and disassociate the pain and the agony and the pressure from looking at any one of my son's faces. Nothing wrong with their faces. It's just I could no longer look into their eyes for every answer that they had in life. And like, what are we gonna do, Dad? So I don't think I really know, But TV became a thing, and then it became food for me. I became a comfort eater, where I would only sleep on my side of the bed, but my snacks, the chips and the cookies and the ice cream, it would stay on her side of the bed, and I would eat them all night until I would finally fall asleep 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning, and then the days got to start again at 7 when you get the kids up for school during the school year. And I'm with you too. Okay, I used to be a video gamer. Now again, 1,000 years ago, I only had a fire button, and a joystick. That's all I could do, just those two things. And I tried to do all the fancy stuff with the multiple. I couldn't. That's just one thing. It's not my gifting. But the only thing that ever got me out of that was I just got sick and tired of being there. And I had noticed that I caused my kids to disassociate, but I disassociated with them because I couldn't take them being with me all the time. And I suffered from a situation or a feeling where whenever they would hug me after my wife died, it physically felt like needles and nails into my skin. Wherever they touched me, I felt physical pain. But I knew they needed the hugs because their mom was a big hugger. I wasn't. So I tried my best to endure that pain that I was feeling so they can get the love and that they needed. So the food eating turning into alcohol, that became a retreat for me. So, but in my mind, I had to do it in a point where nobody could really tell that I was an alcoholic because I had to be able to take care of my kids. A couple of my kids had asthma issues, so I knew that I can never be drunk enough, too drunk to be able to not be able to hear them breathing or having breathing issues. I could hear them having issues breathing from 2 rooms away and go get them and sit up all night with them on asthma machines. And I don't say all that to say, "Ooh, look at me." No, no, no. I say all that to say, my heart bleeds for you, Kailon, because I use your government name. I apologize. Because I would really want you to find that place that you define, that you feel that you could always associate with and be present. Because you're an amazing, talented, intelligent young man who doesn't have to apologize to anyone for any reason, ever. And at some point, if you choose and the Lord blesses you to have a child, they would have a father that would run through a wall for them and put his lifeline, a line for them, and try to give that kid everything that he never had. And I just pray that you get to a point where you can associate with that side of you and not disassociate from the concept. Because we need so many men that are out there that are like you who can see that they went through some things and made it through because you chose to. And I don't know you as well as Sean or anyone else may know you, but you tell me if I'm right on this. There's nothing that Kailon can't do unless Kailon chooses not to do it. And if anyone tells Kailon that he can't do something, that's one of the first things he's going to go prove to himself first, that he can do it, not just accomplish it, not just get her done, not just check the box, but kill it like you kill mics and burn down stages. You know what I'm saying? And that's such a, can you imagine what a father like that would look like to a young child who doesn't understand life? That's what unparenting is all about. I think sometimes, Squad, I think Sean has not really said this. Maybe she did. Maybe I just missed it. I think there's some of the parenting that took place that we allowed it happen to us that we need to unparent it and unwind that junk. And Nicole, I almost said something. I didn't want to burn your ears, but we need to unwind some things, right? And start up allowing folks to be the reason why we're sad and frustrated. And maybe it's just me. And everybody has to get to a point of they're on their own. So I don't say, anyone, you got to be this way. But at some point, I just got mad at everybody. So, bump them. If you don't want to be in my life, I don't really care if you're in my life. But if you choose to be in out of my kids' life, who are some brilliant young men, that's your loss. But I'm going to show you exactly who they are. And I'm going to show you who I am. Because that's what my mom used to tell me. One of the sage pieces she used to give me is that if people want to be jealous of you, then give them something to be jealous about. So that was one of the fuel then I got into showing folks then and show myself what I was really capable of doing. Sorry for the rant.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Craig. That was very heartfelt. And I in the midst of having this conversation, I'm understanding some of the tendencies that I have. Like, I don't know a lot about my emotional capacity because my dad, as far as I know, is bipolar and possibly schizophrenic. So I question myself a lot and I suffer from self-doubt a lot of the time, But on top of that, like I don't know how regular of a feeling this is, but I work at a hospital, right? And today, there was a patient who walked up and he was probably in his like 60s or something like that, but he looked like he was on his deathbed. And it just made me like instantly in my before I could consciously realize what was happening, my brain was like, oh, I would kill myself before I got to that point. And then I thought about what I said and I was like, why did that pop into my head seeing this elderly man? And like, I'm gonna be honest, I think some of this comes from like I don't I guess I haven't ever given myself I guess I don't know how to envision life past a certain point, you know? I don't know how things are gonna go. I don't know how to conceptualize. I don't know how to feel about that really. Because a lot of the time I feel like I don't really want to be here. And I try to I don't know if this is like me trying to convince myself of other things or what, but it just, a lot of the time I'm just like, dang, bro. Like sometimes it feels like it would be better to be dead because of everything that we got to deal with. And it's just one thing after another. And it's like, bro, when does it stop? When does any of this stop? And I don't think people understand what I'm saying when I say that. So I'm gonna explain. When I say when does it stop, I mean when does us having to pay bills, us having to work, us having to help fulfill other people's dreams, when does that stop? When does that stop? Because you ask anybody you know, they're gonna tell you, if I don't do nothing else, I'm gonna work. I'm gonna at least do that. I gotta make money, right? Why? Why? And granted, I've been told by family members like, I feel like the older I get, the more I feel like a lot of people have these like phases where they're like in a revolutionary phase and they're like, oh, I want to change the world. I want to have this revolution. I want everybody to wake up and I just want things to be okay. And I guess I'm in that point now, but like when I first started making music and I was saying stuff like that, I was always getting told like, yeah, bro, you might as well give up on that. You're not going to change the world because the world don't want to change. You know, there's no amount of work that you could put in by yourself that's going to change the world realistically. And I mean at a foundational level. Cause this is we're talking about at least 500 years worth of BS. Like stuff that doesn't even make sense. Why are we paying taxes? How does that who does that serve? For real. It's stuff like that. I get into certain spaces where I'm just like, bro, what is the point of all of this? And how long are we going to do this for? Until we finally realize that there's no point in any of this. And people are just going to keep telling me we have to. Why? Why is that? No one seems to have an answer for as to why. But we just have to. We just have to. And my thing is, I say all that to say, there's a fear. Of course, we fear things we don't understand, right? This is why hate crimes happen a lot of the times because people don't understand shit. Sorry, people don't understand things, right? People are so quick to accept the first thing that makes them feel like they belong somewhere or that makes them feel like they're in their right mind that they don't consider anybody else. And this goes back to what I was saying about my dad choosing not to be here because you willfully chose not to have a job to the point where you and my mom was arguing and she was like, okay, you're either going to work and help me care for this child or we're not going to be together because there's no other option. And on one hand, I feel my dad for being like, all right, well, I guess I'm going to just go figure it out then because I don't know what we're doing. I don't know what's happening right now. And no one's explaining anything because no one has an idea. No one can explain this to me. And I'm going crazy and everyone's calling me crazy because I don't understand. But everyone's telling me that there's nothing to understand. So I feel him on that note. But on the same side, I feel the little kid who's like, yo, I wish you would have just been here. I wish you would have just been here. Maybe you could have figured it out then. Who knows? Like, that for so long, I wanted my mom and my dad to get back together. And I can't even remember when it hit me when I finally was like, bro, that's not happening. Like you're not getting that fairy tale that you wanted. You're not getting that. It's not happening, bro. Let it go. Let it go. I know I was a teenager at that point. It was probably at some point in high school. But I'm tired of coming to dead ends, man. Everything just feels like a dead end. Because it's a means to an end. Of an end of what? Of what?
I don't have an answer for it other than if people like yourself don't shine that light and raise the question, then everyone else continues to be asleep and continue to accept the answers. So you have to be able to constantly raise a question. If it's in your head, you're not the only one with the question. right? So, yeah, there may be, I think from a revolutionary standpoint or a trailblazer, let me use that word as well. Sometimes you're the only one out there, the voice of one crying in the wilderness. But there's people moving towards you. There's people that are hearing you. But some folks are just choosing not to, right? So I encourage you to continue to find what fuels you, find what drives you, continue through as you're carving out the mission and the vision and the, what do you call it, the parts that make you you. Your, Nicole, I'm missing the word, is your purpose in life.
Yeah.
When you find that purpose for K Loud's life, all of it won't make sense even then. But for the days that when it makes less sense, it'll make more that, hey, I'm here for these purposes and for these following reasons. Because if you don't raise the question, it frustrates you and it feels like you're not being authentic to you. And you have to be authentic to you and no one else, and start from there and continue and repeat.
Nicole.
Can I jump in here?
Mhm.
I love the passion. How old are you, Kailon?
26.
Cool. So in your 26 years, you have developed a passion and you're out there making music. I write. And when I was 23, I wrote a poem called Starting With Me. And what that poem does for me when I read it back to myself is make me stop time traveling. I was somebody who's always looking at the past. I grew up in this house that was fill in the blank. And in the future, I will fill in the blank. That, my own writing, is why I'm saying to you, as somebody who writes, who DJs, who's got all that passion, it pulls you back into the moment. Whose life have you impacted right now in this moment? Even if it's somebody who you held a door open for, somebody you fed, somebody you gave a part of you that they would not have experienced had you not been there. Even you being on this podcast today, my nephew lives with me. His mom has passed away. His dad's not around. And I was talking to him the other day because I secretly call him my son. He's not my son. But he says, you're the closest thing to a parent that I have. But I got to make all those mistakes with my son, my bio son. And so it's in the moment, I get to look at him at his 25, 26-year-old self and go, okay, I get to impact him and he gets to impact me. I don't know who's around you. I don't know who you see on a regular basis. I don't even know who comes to your shows. But I got to say this to you. We had Michael Jackson on this earth for 49 years. He didn't even make 50. But I promise you, when I was a little girl, his music, and even looking back now and reading some of the things I found a song I had never heard. It impacted me. It made me think about me in this moment. Time traveling to, oh my gosh, I'm being pulled back into my past by my thoughts. No, I got to hold them captive. Oh my gosh, this might happen in the future. Somebody's giving me a prophetic word. No, I'm not there either. I got to come present. So I want to invite you to your present right now, to associate, like Craig is saying, with who you are now and that passion that's inside you. That's why do I'm still struggling with the taxes thing, don't get me wrong. But the rest of it, who you are on the inside, the smile you carry, the words that come out of you, uniquely you, designed for this moment, for the generation that's asking why, I encourage you to come present. I'm not saying forget your past. I'm not saying don't look forward to your future. I'm saying today, this morning, as you sit with yourself, get loud on the inside. Listen to that inner voice, that inner child who's been squelched for so long. And allow that little child to speak to you about dreams, about hope, about courage, and the wisdom that your little one carries. Bring that off into the earth. and give birth to the dreams that live within you. Are you willing?
Anything to change the way I feel right now.
Well,
Wow.
I have an opportunity coming to Arizona for you. I do a 4-day inner healing workshop. I'm going to send you the information. It's coming to Arizona in just a few weeks. And I want you there. I want you there. It has changed my life. I went through 26 years ago, and my heart has changed. It started beating again after years of numbness and wilderness wandering emotionally because of the trauma that I had been through in my childhood and my broken marriage. I encourage you to come present.
God willing, I will be there.
All right, I'll send it to you.
I am so overwhelmed by this whole conversation. Kailon, thank you so much for your transparency. And if I could add anything to what Nicole or Craig has said, I I am grateful that you acknowledge where you were with the disassociation. Like that is something that a lot of people experience but don't recognize what it is and don't see the impact it has on their life. And also the distractions, right? The distractions of what kind of echoing what Nicole said in terms of thinking about so far into the future that it's distracting you from the present, or so far from the past that it's distracting you from the present. And what I love about who you are and just this small time that we've gotten to know each other is that you're willing to put it all on the line.
Mm-hmm.
You're willing to be vulnerable no matter what. You're willing to express yourself. Don't give a darn who is there listening or whatever. And that's the first step to the reconciliation, because again, the reconciliation is not about your father, it's not about your mother, it's about you. And understanding who you are and how you can allow God to use you to move to the place where He's called you to be. You have so many gifts and talents, and you're operating in those. There's a barrier, it's like a ceiling that's happening right now. But once you continue to do that healing work, that reconciliation work for yourself, the sky is the limit. And I am so excited for you. And I thank you so much for being so candid, for being so real, and allowing yourself to be so vulnerable in this conversation. And I don't know if you saw me shaking my head, and because you're echoing everything that I hear my son say, who was an unparented child, right? Who didn't have his dad there. And it just reminds me that there are so many young men, so many men that are feeling the same way that you feel, but don't know how to express it. So I thank you for the boldness and for saying yes to this opportunity to express. And hopefully, what a nugget, one person, if one person's life is transformed, if they're thinking, we talk about renewing your mind daily in the Bible. If one person's mind is renewed, if their thought is renewed, even if it's yours, mine, Nicole's, or Craig's, if our thoughts are renewed by this conversation, then to God be the glory. So thank you so, so much, Kailon. I look forward to us experiencing each other more and more.
Likewise.
And I'm grateful. Craig, the way you poured into Kailon, I was just like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch the conversation, because that's exactly what is needed. That's exactly what he needed. I couldn't pour into him the way you could. And so thank you for that. Thank you both for just saying yes to this conversation. And I don't know if it's what Sean envisioned, but it's what God had intended for this time. So thank you. As we wrap up, I'm going to turn it back over to Craig for our final announcements and wrap up. Thank you so much again for allowing me to be the co-host today and to just be a fly on the wall in this amazing, amazing conversation.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Wanda, and thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Kailon. Thank you, everyone, for watching and for joining another episode in conversation right here from Lessons in the Journey Live. Special thanks to everyone who's going to like, share, and subscribe. And again, like we say before you go, please join us on YouTube for the after show. We're going to continue this conversation and unpack a little bit more and go a little bit deeper into what we share today. Please like, subscribe, share, and invite someone to join in the conversation with us. And until next time, take care, stay encouraged, and we'll see you all after the show.
Peace.
This is real life and death here. Some lessons are harder to learn than others. Some lessons I've experienced over and over again. It's crazy. That's why I only know what he knows. Hey, I only grow as he goes. Yeah, I gotta give my lessons from the journey, baby.